Hello, and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, strategies, and insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Josh Mait of 100 Yards to Go. How's it going, Josh?
It's going fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, first of all, so much for being on. And I'd love to just start this off by understanding a little bit more about you and your background and a little bit more about 100 Yards to Go.
Sure. If you looked at me on paper, I probably look like a pretty solid generalist B2B marketer who maybe enjoys the impulse of B2C and some of the creativity. And I think that's one thing I try to do in all my work is bring some of that over the line because I think there's something to be learned from B2C when it comes to B2B marketing. But yeah, I spent my career on both the agency and the client side. My last full-time role when I was working for somebody was at a company called Relationship Science, which was a well-funded enterprise SaaS fintech type solution out of New York that had tremendous backers, a lot of pressure, billion-dollar aspirations, all the typical startup type experiences, all the cliches you could name. I was CMO there. I got to launch that brand. It was the New York Times, actually. Aaron Ross Sorkin wrote a piece about us, and he never does launch pieces. And he wrote a front page of the business section piece to launch that company. And
Wow.
I'd say it was a wild ride from there, including a lead coming in every 10 seconds for a week after that we didn't know what to do with.
Wow.
So
And that was
a
all
lot of
because of the
learning.
Post, the New York Times Post?
Yeah, I mean, that got not only was that in the Times, but then picked up by a lot of people. And yes, that was
Yeah,
our launch moment. And it
that's
was,
amazing.
yeah. Now, it did say in the headline, I remember this so clearly, it's like LinkedIn for the 2%, which my fellow management team members looked at and said, oh shit, sorry, the language, but they basically said, that sounds terrible. Of course, that attracted everybody to it because
Yeah.
of such a promise to have access like that. Anyway, it was a great ride for 3 years. And when I left there, I started interviewing for chief marketing officer roles. And what I found is that you have basically a lot of founders that have product or sales backgrounds, not marketing backgrounds, and marketing's a bit of a black box,
Yeah.
but they have some type of financial moment, whether that's raising money or private equity investment. And somebody says you should do some marketing and they don't know how to do it. And what they do is they put out a kitchen sink job description for a marketer who doesn't exist. And so when I would go into these interviews, they were half in love with me for what I am good at, which is I'm a good storyteller and I love content and I love thinking about the customer journey. They were not in love with me because I understand demand gen. It's not something I really want to do and my head isn't great at it. And I did not like that schizophrenic experience. And at the last interview, I said, you know what, screw this. And I had an ex-colleague who is everything I am not. He's a performance marketer who basically wants to figure out how to optimize a funnel, set up the systems to track performance, figure out a channel strategy. He wouldn't know what to put in his funnel to create engagement. So I always say, if you put the two of us together, we're like a full marketer. And our thought at the time was jump into these early stage companies and be really focused on execution because nobody wants to wait around for strategy decks that take 6 months to develop and sit on a shelf. And at the time when we launched it, we definitely didn't know what we were doing or what we were. I'd say 10 years, almost 10 years later, the hypothesis, which is really a resource hypothesis, is still the same. But now we have a team of 14 people. We know more what we're doing. We have better process. But ultimately, we try to be seen as an extension of our clients and be the marketing team, even though we're not full-time employees, but really be operational and executional in nature.
Wow, that's really interesting. And your name is something that your company name is something that sticks out to me. Really, I think you guys did a good job with it in the sense that it remains with you. How'd you guys
Yep.
come up with that name? What does that mean? 100 yards to go.
Yeah, I love naming as the creative out of the two of us and the team. I just think there's no silver bullet in marketing. I had enough conversations with people that thought, oh, let's go find one channel or one tactic or one growth tactic or whatever it may be. The reality is as the name says, you have a long way to go and you got to do a lot of
Yeah.
things. And it's not an easy journey. It's not
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not a find something, some lucky diamond. It's
Yeah.
just not gonna, that doesn't happen very often in my
And
opinion.
I think that's perfect for especially working with early stage startups because it couldn't be more true. You just have this long way to go.
Totally. Long way to
Yeah.
go. I think my worst sales pitch when I sell us is some of this stuff is just boring. I'm building muscle memory, but also just being a consistent executor. The stupidest example I could give is when a company sends a company newsletter for the first time. You'd think it's a stupid company newsletter, get it out the door. Is the database set up correctly? Do you have marketing automation in place? Has the CEO signed off on the message? What are you saying? And you don't have the
Yeah.
muscle memory. So, in my view, you just got to be consistent and show up when you say you're going to show up. And if you're going to do it
Right.
once a month, do that for the next 6 months and then evaluate, is it worth that effort and has it gotten easier?
Yeah. And I want to dive into what you said there a little bit more. You say that B2B marketing a lot of times is boring or it isn't sexy. So, what is it about solving complex, under the radar problems that keeps you coming back?
There's so much bad B2B marketing that there's just a tremendous amount of upside. I think on the brand side, I can look at a brand pretty quickly and the problems are pretty consistent actually. Lack of a customer centric story, lack of a point of view, too vanilla, a race to talk about features and functions, even if you're in a commoditized competitive space. So, by the way, it's not to say that figuring out the answers is always easy, but the problems hit you right in the face because
Yeah.
once again, you have product or sales founders defining the story. I think on the performance side, if you can figure it out a little bit, like once again, then you just got to be a good executor. Granted, there's going to be a couple of bumps where you're going to have to figure out a strategic thing or two, or expanding verticals or expanding product or whatever it is. But I think it's fun to get to that point and work to get to a point where then like you figured it out a little, the funnel's working, and
Yeah.
now once again, just run it. And you don't
Yeah.
have to build a 25-person team to do that.
Yeah.
Marketing should be efficient, in my
Yeah.
view,
Yeah. No, that's super smart.
especially these days, I would argue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think one of the challenges, and please tell me if I'm wrong here, but at least what I've seen when I've worked with startups or just seen startups in the sphere is that like they will build this product first and then they'll go test it out on the market rather than testing the market to see what it wants and then building out the product. And that might be changing now. That was a really big thing. And that's why VC and angel investing were so risky. You know what I mean? Do you still see that? And how do you overcome those types of challenges?
I'm always amazed that there's not, sometimes there is, but like a customer voice function, because when you have a sales conversation, that's different than trying to get qualitative feedback on that person's professional life and what motivates them and what pain they have. I think it's just a different context. And yet I think most companies aren't consistently having those conversations. So I just think it's like somebody should go start that business because and figure out a way to make it more consistent and operationalized. So I would argue I'm with you. I think it's critical, but that's not the way a lot of people that's not the way the majority of people operate.
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting. I think it's a fun but also challenging challenge for you guys to try to figure it out.
Yeah, and maybe it's funny. I was listening to the How I Built This podcast, and it was with that the Sweet Greens founders. In that B2C context, they saw a problem. They couldn't get healthy food at Georgetown, and they built a solution. I think
Mm.
in B2B, that type of thing happens a little bit less,
Yeah,
where identified problem use or whatever
yeah,
go build. I don't know how much this like the sales automation and sales enablement space, like it is so crowded.
crazy.
It's
Yeah,
people I don't think are saying, oh, I have a problem to solve in that space because every problem's been pretty much gone after by multiple parties. So I don't know.
yeah.
I agree with you.
The new wave now is let's solve the same problem that this other company's already solving, but let's solve it with AI. You know what I
Right.
mean?
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So you've built a business around helping clients take action and not just deliberate strategy, but like how do you balance the need for thoughtful planning with the urgency of testing and
Mm,
iteration?
it's a good question. If we start with somebody who's basically at day one, and 45 days later we can be in market with something, even if it's imperfect, I'm usually pretty happy because that's a race. Some people might complain even about 45 days, but
Yeah.
if you don't know anything and you're coming in day one, I think if we can get to market just to start getting data back, we're happy.
Yeah.
So that's, am I exposing myself for not being thoughtful? I don't think so, but I'm definitely not interested in being perfect. And I'd rather be in market sooner than later and learning from the data. Now, if you told me I got to go relaunch, redevelop, recreate a brand at a corporate identity level, some things I feel are precious. That to me is a little more precious, although I acknowledge that I think companies need to be evolving more rapidly and they can't just be the same thing every 2 years. But I think that to me is precious. Top of funnel blog content is not precious. And I think it's important to be able to distinguish between different things like that require different levels of perfection and attention.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. And there's this like whole thing. It's with like your average everyday entrepreneur, but it's also with these larger B2B companies or these B2C startups that you can get stuck into in analysis paralysis where you're just trying to reiterate on your product, but you don't have that. It's like that. You don't have the dirty or imperfect momentum you would get by just putting it out there and letting the market tell you what's good about it, what's not. So I really appreciate that about what you guys do. I like that take.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right about momentum. I'm a believer in momentum. I think you start getting into a rhythm where you're just operating some type of go-to-market calendar and you're consistently putting assets on different channels and have good data and reporting, that's 80% of the job.
Yeah. Wow, this has been so great, Josh. Really insightful. I
Of
really
course.
like hearing how you guys approach B2B marketing, B2B demand gen. Where can people learn more about you and where can people learn more about 100 yards to go?
I am an active LinkedIn app user on a daily basis. So I'm there under Josh Mait. And then our website is 100 yards to go.com. That's 100 yards to go.com. So yeah, those places have pretty much what you need to learn more about us.
Awesome. Again, thanks for being on. This was great.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.